Hello, this is Nancy Wilson from Heart and Roadcase Royale, and you're listening to Brigade-Radio-One.
You're listening to Brigade-Radio-One.
They're very much removed. They're not immediate family folks. If you're listening to this, I can't. Yes, allegedly.
Yeah.
I may not even be related. So.
Did you see the trailer for the second part of It?
Not yet, but I'm excited about it.
And I'm excited about it. And I didn't like the first movie.
Oh, you didn't?
I only liked about half of it. I thought the melodrama with the kids was
too much.
Just too much. Kids don't tell each other they love each other.
Kidding.
That's true.
They call each other fags. Sorry to use that, but that's the way you. And there was just and actually it was the first Stephen King book that I was like, you know what? I think I'm done. This is like I'm seeing the patterns and the kids, this idealization of children, which is great. But the new movie is populated by such good actors.
That book,
Pennywise is back.
It
was 10,000 pages long.
That's what I was going to say. That book almost read like a book that was designed just to be the longest book in history. There's parts of it that are.
I think that would be The Stand.
The Stand, another one where I'm like, what the fuck?
I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I still remember being blown away by the fact that they go through all that thing with the end of the world disease and getting out and everything, and you still have half the book to go.
Yeah,
and I remember
The Stand was an amazing book.
Yeah,
but it's like. Somewhere around it was when Stephen King he was so prolific that he needed an editor, and then years later I discovered he was coked up, which to me is cheating.
Yeah. Oh, that's cheating. Being coked up?
It's like
all right. A couple of things.
It was what was amazing about him was that he was so consistently good and prolific, and then you know what?
The Stand. They did that miniseries on it, remember? And
they've done too.
It opened up with the original, the first one.
Yeah.
Right? Opened up with a song by Blue Oyster Cult. So of course I'm backstage with Blue Oyster Cult, and I'm asking them how they feel about that, and they go, Blue Oyster Cult tells me this. They go, we had a song in Halloween too when he pulls up at the hardware store, and the hardware store's been robbed, and the sheriff comes out, and they're getting together. They're remember that? The band's yeah, I remember that. And I'm oh, so what was the deal on that? And they're oh, we have no fucking idea. Someone called us and said our music was in this movie.
Wow.
And I'm you might want to have a legal rep look into that at this point now, because it's probably
Blue Oyster accountant.
Millions of dollars.
Right.
Yeah. One of those liberals that's an
liberal
accountant by day.
The wrestler. Liberal nightmare by night in the wrestling ring.
More contemporary Stephen King, though, pulled off something that really impressed me as a writer, which was I was reading a collection of short stories, and one of the short stories in it had been commissioned by Amazon to involve a Kindle, and it was intended for the launch of the Kindle. You know this story?
It was called the Green. It was when they first launched, and they were going to get people you had to get a Kindle to be able to read this story.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he had written a story about a pink Kindle that shows up that somebody grabs by accident, and on it is a library of books by well-known authors that have never, to our knowledge, been written. So unknown works by Hemingway, right? And and he writes a section in the voice of Hemingway.
Oh, really?
And he does it really, really well.
He's extraordinarily talented.
Yeah.
Well, I was watching. I think I told you we've talked about it quite a few times on the show. And there's that moment where all the kids muster their courage to go into the dilapidated haunted house, and I'm watching that with my wife, and she's just shaking her head, going, "That is such a white people thing. You would not catch any of us." And it's so funny because she let us back around. She's like, and I got to tell you, Michael Myers picks his neighborhoods very carefully, because there's some neighborhoods where he's going to get fucked up. He goes into these suburban neighborhoods in these Halloween movies where there's these passive high school kids he's going to murder. Yeah. You come down into Watts or South Central, that movie would be 3 minutes long. Yeah.
I want to see that movie.
That's a great movie.
Totally.
It's a pretty fun premise.
Pablo Francisco.
It's he's not going to make it down. He's not going to make it down MLK Boulevard.
Pablo Francisco had a whole bit on just those horror films like that back in the day. He's what's up with white college kids? They come home, they're walk in, they're turn on the lights, and they're hello?
Yeah.
The light flickers and the bulb burns out, and you hear and he does this whole thing where he's hello?
Oh my
God.
God.
Home? And then you hear kill. He goes, all right, well, I'm going to go take a shower.
Yeah.
I'm going to go
my
check
God.
the basement.
exactly.
Pablo Francisco doing movie guy. In a world, one man, one desire.
Yeah.
I love the idea though of like the typical like masked machete wielding maniac going into a neighborhood, and the movie turns out to be about him trying to survive.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
Bill Sandell, our favorite production designer, reminded me. He's like, that's how they caught the Night Stalker. He went into the wrong neighborhood, tried to steal a car,
Oh no kidding.
and basically the neighborhood got him.
Yeah.
So I had totally forgot because I was
He
so
seemed
young.
like a disagreeable fellow, don't you
Right?
think?
Night
Richard
Stalker?
Ramirez?
Yeah. He's supposed to be like if you had like a backyard barbecue and he kind of passed through your yard.
Yeah.
Wait a second, our tongs are missing.
Maybe the pentagram in his hand. Maybe.
Yeah.
Who shows up and asks for a Mike's Hard Lemonade? That's a little weird.
Yeah.
That's just a little weird.
So
Speaking of bombs, how about that new?
we're passing on the mantle,
Uh-huh.
the 007 mantle, and I'm all for it. I would have liked to have seen. I would have preferred to have seen Idris Elba play Bond, but what do we think of heading in this direction?
To me, it's a little bit like what Roger said. It's like make a new thing. First
Yeah,
of all,
right.
honestly, and I don't say this that it's right or wrong, but part of what Bond is what Bond is, which means half-naked girls and that's
I said exactly the same thing.
so why reinvent it into some unless she's going to have. First of all, I don't know who this actress is. I'm not seeing anything like charm or.
I don't know anything about her personally.
I mean, God bless her. She got.
Yeah, good. Yeah, but when I first my first misunderstanding was that she was going to somehow play James Bond, and my reaction to that was I said to my.
Oh, am I mistaken?
No, she's going to become
007.
007.
Okay.
So the designation is moving on to.
Oh, okay.
James Bond will be in the film, but he is passing the 007 mantle on. But when I misunderstood it, what I said to my wife was I said, it's your point exactly. I said James Bond is about literally toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't know if you remember this, but in the 80s, the Timothy Dalton Bond, they tried to make him a kinder, gentler Bond, and it didn't work then.
Yeah.
And then, go ahead, yeah.
No, I literally am right now having this weird sort of epiphany about what we were talking about earlier with is like, the idea that like social media can sort of drive and affect change in terms of like a film production company saying, okay, fine, we'll go back and redesign the character for you. Maybe it's careful what we wish for, because there's an element to this where you go, never before have we been able to say like, well, I don't want that. I want my Bond to be this.
Yeah.
And so now what's happening is we have executives and people who are in charge that are saying like, well, we need to make sure that we're woke. We need to make sure that we're not triggering. We need to make sure that so now what's happening is our own entertainment is not going to put us in a situation of feeling uncomfortable because we want to just go and have everything be the way we want it to be. So maybe this isn't the best thing for us. It's interesting. Maybe it would be good for us to have more of a conversation. Should we like?
I would easily go see a female action hero. Like that.
Well,
but
we have that. We've done that.
Exactly. So, but why hammer this thing into
This story
that?
into that, yeah.
And my guess is it's a little bit like give me all those women that were in Ghostbusters and make a new something.
Exactly.
Right.
I agree.
Could you do a Bond where he is a chauvinist and he's totally out of touch with that?
They did. That was Pierce Brosnan when he took over Bond. I very vividly remember a scene with him and Judi Dench saying, "You're a dinosaur, Bond.
Yeah.
You are something from the past. It just so happens that that's what we need right now."
Well, you know, the real James Bond movie is contractors, and I don't mean contract killings, but the guys that are like, have to put in the bid on the internal lair of a volcano with a ninja training camp. Like come home to.
Great film.
You know what I had to build today, honey? I had to build a row of chairs that were electrified, so somebody sits in one, and then we had to build like a furnace below because the chair dumps the body back, and it tumbles down a tunnel. and goes into a burner and destroys the evidence. But what do you suppose something like that's worth? Because my silence is obviously worth something too in the deal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's like these things, these
That's
magnificent contraptions.
It's literally contractors.
I'm gonna put in a bid on like sort of like this is an Atlantis and it sinks below, but it's got an elevator with a trapdoor that opens to a shark tank and it plays opera music as it happens.
It's got to be like building the pyramids, though, right? It's like the minute you get that check, it's like
Done.
Well, I mean, look, I would happy to be. Apparently, there's a guy that doesn't believe in the stars and the celestial plane. That guy is.
That's the guy you want to have build your shark tank.
But I mean,
in
a weird way, it's sort of like the pyramids are this thing that's iconic in human history and bought with the blood and the lives of countless. It's like the Brooklyn Bridge,
right?
It's like it took 10 months for them to put up the Empire State Building. I don't know how many people died, but I bet a bunch did. Stonemasons and being crushed, and so it's like the space program. It's like now we can't tolerate. How much money is it going to be? And it's sort of like human achievement achieved a bunch of stuff when nobody was looking, and now that everybody is looking, I don't know what.
We hate ourselves. We do this thing where it's like we have to. I don't know. It's a very fascinating time because optics are everything, and yet so often optics really don't count for much. They don't get a lot. They don't get bridges built.
No.
It's like,
are you saying that in You Only Live Twice when James Bond becomes a Japanese guy? That's maybe not the way it was on Netflix.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Netflix
I don't know.
original.
I'm just having a laugh at it.
Ow!
I just would love to see like the meeting with Blofeld where he's like, okay, over there is where I need my ninja training camp. Because we'll be training ninjas.
First of all, we can't call him Blofeld anymore.
Yeah, right. No, that's straight out.
Well, Pussy Galore is out.
Yeah.
Dr. Goodhead from Moonraker.
Yeah.
It's Drax. I need a spaceship station that can be cloaked. They all put this engineer.
But I have this weird feeling about Bond movies anyway, and I fall for it every goddamn time. It's like a new Bond movie, and you see some trailers, and then you go see it, and you go, "Hi, it was a Bond movie."
I think
right.
It's trapped by its own form, but somehow we fall for it almost every time.
Why now it's like let's just reinvent. Let's do something.
Atomic Blonde.
You're like,
If that had been a better movie, it would have had sequel.
Well, in all the Bond movies, when I was a kid, the character that was always the most fascinating was the Felix Leiter guy, who was clearly the lesser qualified guy.
Yeah.
He probably would get hurt in some of these situations, have a couple bones broken, be basically useless in a fight, but he's good enough to get the micro disc to Bond so Bond can stop the nuclear meltdown.
Right.
And that's the guy that makes the handoff.
You better subscribe to this channel before you look uncool.